All right, choosing an attorney. Now, this is obviously a very important discussion. And yes, there are some basic qualities that you should look for when choosing an attorney, and they include. Now, the attorney doesn't need 30 years of experience, but they do need enough experience to have done hundreds of DUI cases and dealt with all sorts of legal issues in court and with the Department of Licensing. And only experience can do this. So then, how much experience is enough? Well, it's tough to answer, but honestly, I would say from experience that no less than 10 years and at least 5 years of focused DUI defense. More is always better, but this should be a minimum. DUI law is very technical and complicated, and there's really so much to know. It's not simply about putting on a suit and going into court. The number of statutes that we need to know is significant, mind-boggling actually, and we also have to know hundreds of different legal cases and have a thorough understanding of the Department of Licensing, which by itself is awfully confusing. If an attorney isn't fully invested into this area of law, it's hard to have a complete grasp on everything. I don't think a lawyer needs to only do DUI law, by the way, to be good, but I do think the majority of their cases have to be DUI defense cases. Having good staff might be the difference between a good law firm and a great law firm. If you talk to a staff member when you're looking for an attorney and they're rude, unpleasant, or know very little about DUI law, hang up and move on. Staff are important and complement the lawyer. Now, I'm so lucky that I have probably the most overqualified paralegal in Washington State in this area of law. Janine has her master's degree, is fully trained in field sobriety testing, the same as the officers, and has been doing this for over 20 years. Be careful if you're hiring a law firm that has associates. Now, I will say there's some very good associates out there, so there are many exceptions. However, no associate cares as much about your case, generally speaking, as the main attorney. Why? Well, their name isn't on the door. Their reputation isn't at risk. And also, associates do not have the same experience as the owner. You don't want to have an associate represent you who only has a few years of experience and he's learning the craft thanks to you. So it's important to ask a prospective lawyer who is going to work on your case. If it isn't the attorney you're speaking with, move on. Reputation is almost impossible to know if you're looking for an attorney. So this is a tough one. However, reputation is critical. It makes negotiating easier. Judges have more trust and respect in your lawyer, and the same is true for court clerks. Often referrals are a good way to measure reputation too. Another good way potentially to measure reputation is to see what this lawyer has done in the DUI defense space. If they have spoken on the subject, produced helpful videos that help more than just their own clients, written books and pamphlets on DUI law, then it's probably fair to say they have a decent reputation for having a good knowledge base, and that's always a good place to start. I can't emphasize how important it is to be local and to know the local court system. Knowing the prosecutors, the judges, probation officers, local jail staff, local rules and practices, or even the local troopers and officers is absolutely necessary for excellent representation. Now, this is part of the package, honestly, that you're buying. And if they're not local, then you are now at a disadvantage. So if you're looking for a DUI lawyer and you rely on Google search, be careful, because right at the top of that Google search page is advertising. And you'll often see lawyers from different counties far away advertising. They probably don't have offices in Skagit or Whatcom counties if you're looking for a lawyer in one of those two counties. They might be in Seattle or Snohomish County. Now, they also often appear at your court appearance by Zoom and not in person. How do I know this? Because I'm in court and I see them on Zoom all the time. Also, they do not know as much as a local attorney about the local court system. And guess what? You'll pay more and get less. So I can go on and on about this, but your goal in getting an attorney is to give you every advantage in court. Hiring someone who knows less about the local court system and legal process is not working towards that goal. So I do have a thing or two to say about public defenders. Now look, if you're unable to afford a private attorney, and yes, private attorneys are not exactly inexpensive, you may qualify for a public defender. I do hear negative things said about public defenders, and I have this to say. They have a very difficult job. They are well trained, and they will likely give every ounce of their being to you because they got the job because they really believe in what they do. The truth is they do have way too many cases than they really should have. Probably hundreds and hundreds of cases per public defender. And because of that, you cannot expect them to even spend a portion of the time that a private attorney like myself would on an individual case. The other thing, too, is they're not DUI-focused attorneys. DUI defense is very specific, so the more you know and the more focused you are, the better. And finally, public defenders do not do Department of Licensing hearings.